Normally, when languages die, they die a slow death when their children are no longer taught the mother tongue, as people switch to a different language, and the native language faces a gradual decline until its last few native speakers die and their tongue is lost. Alternatively, the language's function in society changes to be used for certain circumstances, be it law, scripture, or casual conversation, and is thus gradually replaced. But there's also a few instances of a language literally being blown up. The most famous of these is the death of Dalmatian, a Romance language whose last speaker, Tuone Udaina, died in a roadwork explosion in 1898. But there's a great difference between the last speaker of a language dying in an explosion and a whole language dying in an explosion. This video is about the death of the Tambora language, made possible by my Patreon supporters, Kiernik, Agmashwa, and Alphaskabel. If you enjoy my videos, please consider supporting me on Patreon, or subscribing if you haven't already. The Tambora people lived on the Sanggar Peninsula on the island of Sumbawa in central Indonesia, sharing the island with the Sumbawa people and the Bima people, both speakers of mutually unintelligible Malayo-Polynesian languages, whereas the Tambora language was likely an isolate, the last remnant of the pre-Austronesian languages in central Indonesia. It has also been theorized that the language was a Papuan language. The only known village of the Tamboran people had about 10,000 residents, and they were wealthy traders. The island was well known for honey, horses, sapanwood, and sandalwood. Trade with Vietnam and Cambodia was also present, as discovered through pottery. At this point in history, the Dutch were colonizing Indonesia as part of the Dutch East Indies. As a result, Dutchmen traveled to the islands to document the peoples and languages of their empire. The only surviving word lists of the language come from those Dutch explorers who visited the Tamboran people in the early 1800s. If you remember your history, then you'll know what happened next. The Tambora people shared their name with Mount Tambora, a volcano on the Ring of Fire. Volcanoes erupt with varying levels of power due to a phenomenon I like to call geologic constipation. The eruption of Mount Tambora was massive. In fact, it was the largest volcanic event in recorded history. The climax of the eruption on April 10, 1815, launched from 160 cubic kilometers to 213 cubic kilometers of ash and material into the air, dispersing throughout the atmosphere and lending 1816 the name the year without a summer due to the cooling effects of the ash. 1/3 of the height of the mountain was removed as it transformed into liquid fire, raining pumice and spewing lava flows all over the Sanggar Peninsula. The entirety of the Sanggar Peninsula was covered in over a meter of ash, killing all inhabitants, encapsulating villages and people as was done in Pompeii. The rest of Sumbawa saw ranges of 5 centimeters to a meter of ash rain down, and the kingdom of Tambora was completely obliterated. Any Tamboran survivors would have been abroad at the time of the eruption, and few in number, so much so that there are no records of the Tamboran language or people after 1815. The ruins of Tambora were only unearthed in 2006, giving us vital information about their culture and trade, but we will never know more about the language than the word lists we already have. Some of the surviving words are loanwords from Malay and other Austronesian languages, but most are native. There are a few possible suffixes and prefixes found in the word list, suggestions of reduplication, suggested Papuan words, and a small peek into the Tamboran numeral system. Some of my favorite words are homori, which means father, kokore, which means head, karai, which means fish, and King Kong, which means star. Other than this, we've got nothing, for everything else was blown up by a volcano. What a way to go. The moral of the story is that geologic constipation is a deadly risk. Do not settle at the base of an active volcano, or at least leave when it tells you it's about to erupt. If we are not careful, modern-day cultures and languages could be wiped out by similar cataclysmic events. Let's hope next time it's French. Thanks for watching.